Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video live out on YouTube, especially to you because you're watching. Thank you. And it's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, anyone interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor, or anyone interested in using core new tension in their own movement or movement that they teach others that is outside of the realm of Pilates. Core new tension is for everybody, right? And it doesn't matter if you take in Pilates or not. Knowing about core new tension and how to engage your body has two great benefits that I talk about, and you know what they are. Alignment, a sensation of alignment. You can actually feel alignment. And that's what we were talking about yesterday with all of the wrist stuff and alignment through the wrist. It's sensational. And in that regard, then it's real because you can feel it. And it's the alignment that, the strength of the alignment that determines the position of the body. So specifically out through the wrist or out through the ankle, out through the neck. So, all right, and something I didn't think I was going to bring up from yesterday that didn't get added in there. The tension brings you into alignment. It's as simple as you're slouching and gravity is weighing down on you and you feel that tension. And you can lie down on the floor to not make any effort and feel less tension, or you can make an effort to sit up straight because the body incurs its own load, less in alignment and more uniform engagement that's required to get to that alignment than not. So the tension brings you into alignment. So just by reaching to establish the tension between any 2 points, it's the tension between them that produces a sensation that becomes either more aligned or less aligned, and you can feel that. And that's the great joy of being, for me, a Pilates instructor, is that I'm pointing to a feeling. I'm pointing someone to pay attention to their own sensation and to judge the alignment for themselves. So, I only have 2 things today. 2 things. I'll say them both and then I'll fill out the detail. One is, all I can do is point. And the other is, you fail to grasp. Okay, so those are my 2 titles. All I can do is point and you fail to grasp. And when I say all I can do is point, if you come to me with enthusiasm and you like everything you're hearing and you're feasting on it, and thinking that there are other feasts, banquets, other offerings or projections of Pilates, and that MMP is just one point of view, and there are a lot of other points of view. That's totally true, and you've heard me say that forever. That even though it's just one point of view out of the 10,000, in my opinion, you'll be hard-pressed to find another one, that offers so much value in your attempt to survive as a Pilates instructor, assuming that Pilates, and even that, right, whatever that means, whatever that means. But to me, surviving as a Pilates instructor, first and foremost, means surviving teaching it in and of itself without having to go beyond that as a Pilates instructor. So all I can do is point. When you come and you have a fascination with MMP, and then momentum carries us forward into new and expectant times. All right, so all I can do is point to what MMP represents, and as humbly as I can, at least state my opinion that it's a very profound view that comes into high utility for a Pilates instructor because it explains why Pilates is what it is. It explains where it comes from, directly from Joe, and it's easily comprehensible and discoverable as a sensation on your own, which gives you a direct relationship to the man and his method. So that's MMP, right? And if I fail to measure up to you as the instructor that you want, I can't help that. I'm doing the best I can, and in this broadcast, I'm assuming the role of teacher and not instructor because I'm asking you to think, right? I'm asking you to think. I'm seeing words and I'm asking you to listen to those words and think about them and interpret them, right? So I'm acting as a teacher. And all I can do is point. And so if MMP isn't your cup of tea, there are other views of Pilates among the 10,000 that I'm familiar with that I can point you to, have pointed you to see if anything sunk in with MMP, and if it helps at all, digest or embrace another point of view of Pilates, right? So, what I would want you to consider is where the training is coming from based on the ad that you read about coming to attend a workshop. That's what I'm talking about, like workshops and training and such. And two big ones stand out because of recent promotions, so it's just first in, first out in my head. One is based on, to me, the messenger, meaning it's this person that's taught forever that I've had exposure to through the arc of our Pilates histories. And it's an elaborate, and her presentation to me that I ask you if you can decide is really an interpretation that's all hers. And see, I just don't know. To me, it seems like the focus is on the personal interpretation, which is no different than my focus, which is on my personal interpretation. But as your teacher and as your instructor, I'm asking you to see the difference between the curtain, what's behind the curtain, and what is on, and what the stage is. What do I mean by that? Well, I make a presentation of my view of Pilates, and others make a presentation of their view of Pilates. And I know that for me, my presentation is about why Pilates is what it is in and of itself. It's there and easily comprehensible by anyone who's willing to comprehend. So all I can do is point. And another attraction in this 10,000 points of view, coming from many of them, are the disclosure of secrets. And they're secrets because not everybody knows, and the presenter of the information is privy to information or exposure to someone who's usually gone now, like Joe, or even gone since Joe, and to another generation, and it's the personal exposure to them that is part of the promotion of selling secrets. That's very attractive. I want to go and talk to somebody that actually knew Joe. And in the next generation, I want to go and talk to somebody that actually knew Ramana. All I can do is point and clarify that MMP, in its view of Pilates, happens outside of the context of anybody that knew Joe, or anybody that knew somebody that knew Joe, and what they've learned through tradition, right? MMP is distinctive in that way, in that it doesn't take its authority from anything other than the three things in Joe's book, which you know, right? His definition, his promise, and his sequence. So here I am trying to help you survive as a Pilates instructor. And so that when you go out to evaluate other training programs or to learn more, just to go learn more, right? I suggest you try to use what you know about MMP as that lit up buoy at night out in the darkness. And then when you encounter whatever of the 10,000 views you encounter, MMP as an ideal will at least give you some connection to I would say what's real versus whatever is out there that is often surreal. The Pilates culture is a wonderful culture. So, are you learning from the persona and all that where they have taken what they've learned? How's that? That's a good way of putting it. Where they have taken what they've learned. And that their presentation, just like mine, is a presentation of where they've come to. It's natural. It's profession. It's the creative press behind the shoulder blades. I will share with you my opinion that there are no amount of relics in the attic that have a mysterious truth in them that isn't already obviously apparent from Joe's original work that's out there and available to anyone around the world, meaning his book, right? There's nothing beyond his book that will lend more authority to, in my opinion, more authority to his statement than the book that he came out with. And you can say, oh yeah, but, and there's all of that but. No yo quiero que valga. MMP points to reality. And so that brings me to number 2. Okay? Number 2. You fail to grasp the significance of what you know. Is that how I wrote it down? You fail to grasp the significance of what you know. For all of the views you get about Pilates, and for all of the stage front of the main Pilates culture, defining it by the union that defends it and makes rules that you pay them to live by, that have nothing to do with the original work of Joe or his message and the ideal that exists within it. See, that's my only problem with that. And someday enough people from outside of the collective will be connected on the issue of the ideal within, that it will force the collective to say, well, yes, of course that's true, and now here's why we're a better collective for it. And in a way, that's totally true, because the closer aligned whatever group seeks to represent Pilates, the closer they are to the ideal within it, however you define it, is good for Pilates and good for those who practice toward that end. So you fail to grasp the significance of what you know. Of those 10,000 views, of any view I've come across my entire lifetime, the predominant, prevailing, popular, common, presumed to be the only view is one of aristocratic authority lent through a heritage of people that knew Joe. And that's fine and dandy, and that's all part of the culture. I'm part of that culture, you're part of that culture. But beyond that culture is Joe's original work, and that's where Michael Miller takes Pilates someplace new. Speaking of myself in the third person, that's why Michael Miller Pilates is transcendent, because it goes someplace beyond merely the authority by tradition to the authority within its essence. And so in evaluating your education and seeing where it comes from, absorb everything on whatever level it's coming at you on, if someone's going to reveal to you Ramana's secret diary, whatever is in the diary will not outshine the truth coming from the expression of Joe's method made by him through his book and a lot of pictures and film, right? The culture would rather it not be that way, because then you can make Pilates into whatever you want, and especially lays an open field for people that have either just arrived at Pilates or spent their whole life in Pilates, selling what they make of it, right? So it's a personification, it's a personalized expression that it goes beyond classical and contemporary, well, to where? Has to go, from my point of view, to the ideal. And the ideal comes from and connects right to Joe's original work. So, points of view are many and varied, and you have your own and I have mine. When I share MMP view with you, it's like letting you look through a perfect magnifying glass to where things that you couldn't see before, you see now, and it's apparent. And if you're explaining MMP or the idea to someone that's in the traditional world of Pilates where it's all aristocratic, Joe's original work is like looking at a digital image when it first comes in and it's all fuzzy. And then as more data loads in, it doesn't change the picture at all, it clarifies it. Okay. And so MMP clarifies Joe's picture. And if Pilates isn't your thing at all, and all you care about is core nutension is a means to uniformly engage your musculature to make your movement through space as efficient as possible. So, and I guess because it's so significant, you have to be sensitive to how much you share of what you know to whom to survive as a Pilates instructor. Which, for the most part, then makes most Michael Miller Pilates instructors are those that have been influenced by that point of view, right? A lot, or even a little, but there are some out there that I would venture to say are a lot, maybe even you. They work within the guise of the court, and that is a means of survival. So not grasping the significance of what you know because you know something that really matters to me, and that's that you've at least been introduced to the notion, you've been asked to notice. Notice that Joe's choreography has structure to it. Notice that Joe defines his method. And notice that he tells you what happens when you do his method. That to me is pretty much drinking from the fountainhead. But you know, okay, how we see ourselves. All right, how we choose to see ourselves. Somehow I'm supposed to remind or mention the fact, I guess, that we choose how we see ourselves. And where the basis of that choice comes from, who knows? But I think as a human being, I have a brain, and part of that brain activity is to create a simulation of what makes sense. Meaning all the sensations that come in cause my body and my brain to make a simulation of reality of what it's like out there. And my consciousness projects myself within that projection. How do we get off on this? Oh, how we see ourselves. So, would that we could arbitrarily and whimsically and consistently choose how we see ourselves. But a lot of times we're adrift in heavy seas emotionally that influence how we choose to see ourselves. Keep the faith. Don't let the turkeys get you down. Hang in there. Points to the obvious fact that we choose how we see ourselves. Scary. Totally scary. And to the extent that we submit to the good within us, I think that's a good thing, and that we don't encourage or try to resonate with what doesn't do us good, right? But it's hard, because I think I fall into a pattern of how I see myself, and then I live and make my actions not based on a reality that's available to me, but based within a context, a stage that I've constructed for myself that's capricious. So all I can do is point was my first point. I'm summarizing now. All I can do is point, and that's like if you don't like MMP and you think that's just one of many and you're after another year of corn, then please go right ahead and feast. Hopefully, the more you go out, the more you'll find out that knowing why has been and continues to be a rare point of view. And part of that too, see, the significance of what you know makes you vulnerable to being ignored. I guess I'd put it that way. I think, okay, here's how I want to conclude this. Choice defines character. That's a 3-word aphorism of mine that's been around forever. Choice defines character, and so it's in one's choice that one demonstrates what one is willing to accept as one's standard. Yeah, one's standard. Like what's acceptable or what's not acceptable. In the tsunami of passion of toward Pilates sweeping the globe, to what extent are you interested not only in getting to higher ground, but wondering what is the highest ground? How much do you really want to know? And just like deep diving, it's a matter of how deep can you go, or in terms of how much you want to know, and knowing how smart are you, how much can your brain conceive, right? Those are relative spectrums compared to the complete coordination of those 3 capacities. And that in MMP, it's the experience that is the target, and the performance of the choreography that's meant to get you there. It's like a braid. Pilates is like a braid, because it takes multiple strands and weaves them together. If the hair were meaning or context, it blends distinctive characteristics together in such a fine weave. All right. Off to YouTube. No, off to Facebook. All I can do is point. And play Yoda and point my student into the cave of their own sensation to see what they're capable of. And as a student of mine, part of seeing what you're capable of is to what extent are you capable of understanding what I'm talking about. You know, I don't think it's that hard, but that's just because I've lived with it forever. I'm comfortable with it. I'm familiar. And you have to be familiar. You have to press the flow to find the fusion, body, mind, and spirit. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add 2 and 2. Direct your thinking. Geist.